So regional integration requires the study of spatial transformation, the process of allowing efficient geographic distribution of business activities within among countries. And by doing that, spatial transformations require spatial maps. No? So these are maps of the region that you can actually tells, it's like a political map, but it's also an economic map. It tells you how the region is performing economically. So each country na is shown with data about the economic situation. In this example, I am using a GDP map. Okay, so this is the GDP map of the Asean region. It's quite old, 2018, but I'm sure more or less it still gives the same information. Okay, so it shows the GDP per capita of country members of the ASEAN region. So you will know specifically what countries are having economic progress. It's color coded, no? The red countries, the ones in red are countries that are very progressive. That small dot there with the 100.3 GDP per capita. That's Singapore. Okay, and we know Singapore is very is very wealthy. It's a very wealthy nation. The ones in dark blue, no, that's our country, no, that's Myanmar, that's Vietnam. Although in terms of GDP per capita, we are the highest, no, as of 2018. I'm sure that could have changed because the pandemic has already struck the region, no. But let's just take this as an example of spatial recognition and the importance of using spatial maps, economic maps, to understand the region more clearly. Okay, so I had the question, no, in my presentation. I was asking, why do you think, though the Philippines is considered, before it was considered one of the Asian tiger cubs, no? One of the fastest growing economies in the region, in fact. But we have a very low GDP per capita. So GDP per capita, that's actually the total GDP divided by the population. So why do you think, though we have a very, very big growth rate, no? So we are one of the highest, we have one of the highest growth rate during the pre-pandemic times, of course. But we have a very, very low GDP per capita. What do you think is the reason for that? One could
Uh,
be, yes, yes, go ahead.
Sir, related po ba yun sa dami ng population ng mga
Yun,
Pilipino,
yun.
sir?
Okay, okay. Tama, tama, tama. Kasi yung GDP, dinivide mo sa population. Eh. Tama, okay. So, napakalaki nung population din natin. Actually, number 12 tayo sa mundo eh. Di ba? Number 12. So, that is one factor. Number 12 tayo sa mundo. Oh, see? No. Another factor is, okay, malaki nga ang growth rate natin. No? Mabilis ang angat ng ating GDP. No? Pero yung distribution of income, GDP is distributed in the country is not equal. Only a few receive much of the benefits of the high GDP growth rate. So maraming naiiwan. Okay? So these are things that comes to your mind, no, when studying the region using spatial maps. Okay? Very good, very good. The benefits of regional integration. So why is it very important? Okay. So actually, I have discussed this also thoroughly, no. But let me add to this, no. Aside from creating a larger pool of consumers with growing incomes and similar cultures, that's tantamount to saying we now have a bigger market when we are part of regional integration. Okay. So we are not just marketing in our country, but we are marketing uh, our products to the whole ASEAN region since we are integrated with ASEAN. But aside from that, our products, the ASEAN integration, regional integration, has a program to market all ASEAN products, to promote all ASEAN products globally. So we are helped. No, our products are actually given better opportunities because of integration. Aside from encouraging economies of scale, what's economies of scale, by the way? Do you still remember? You understand your basic economics? If you're big, you can mass produce, you can produce in volume, you have cost advantages. That's economies of scale. Kasi scale meaning you're actually big. So what happens, since you are mass producing at high volume, the cost per unit of a product, no, becomes lower. Okay, because the cost is spread out in the volumes of product that you have produced. So, sa madaling salita, nagmumura yung produkto na produce natin. Nagmumura yung puhunan, no, ng per unit of the product that you are producing. So you have cost advantages. So being part of regional integration, since you are looking outward, no, you are now motivated to mass produce and take advantage of economies of scale. Pag nag-produce ako naman dami para ibenta ko sa buong mundo, mas makakatipid ako. So that's the thinking. Of course, there's the freeing the flow of capital and labor and technology to the most protective areas in the region, because what you do is you actually lower the barriers of entry. So trade among countries, like for example, trade among Asean countries become easier because there is lowering of tariffs, for example. So technology, raw materials, products can easily be transported, can go in and out in all countries of the ASEAN region. Okay, so that's an example of the benefits of regional integration. Aside from that, manpower, talent, and skill, no, information can easily be shared among these nations. Kasi, for example, in the ASEAN regional integration, wala namang visa, di ba? So we can travel anywhere without restriction. All you need is the airfare, no, and your passport, and you can go to any region, conduct business there, study there, diba? Make researches there, no? Look at what they're doing. So the flow of information is much easier because there's no barriers to entry in terms of manpower. Walang visa. Okay? So that's a benefit of regional integration. Aside from increasing cooperation, peace, and security among countries in the region, of course, you create a bond of friendship. No? It becomes, you come up with treaties, you come up with peace and order programs. No? So security is enhanced. No? So you can fight the drug war together. Your police and military can cooperate against terrorism much better. You encourage member states to enhance their social welfare to match that of the most progressive state. Okay? Since you are now integrated, you can be inspired by other nations or other economic integrated countries, like countries in the West, no, like the EU, like the NAFTA, or even those defense and security integration, no, like NATO. No, the member countries can actually be inspired to be like them. Okay, and to bring up their standard of living to world-class standards. Okay, but aside from this, I am saying, what do you think are other benefits of regional integration that are not mentioned? One is that even small countries can participate in international conferences and they can have a voice, just a small voice or a small participation, no? Can have greater influence in global decision making. Okay, because that member country is now part of a bigger group of nations that work together. Okay, so countries like Myanmar, no, countries like what is this new country, Timor Leste, no, it's just a new country. They can have a voice. countries also with little uh, natural resources, little capital, or so little labor force can have greater opportunities because of being a member of economic integration. So yung mga bansang halimbawa na pag-iiwanan, no, dahil they do not have natural resources, no, they do not have enough capital, they do not have technology, no, and it's very difficult for them to sell something abroad. They can take advantage of more opportunities because of the support given by the international integration or the regional integration. Next, what are the costs of regional integration? Of course, there are other costs aside from this, no? But let me just briefly also mention the most favored nation status rule. Do you understand what this means, most favored nation status rule? One disadvantage of regional integration is that it seems to undermine or neglect this World Trade Organization policy. And what is this policy? Actually, the title is misleading, most favored nation status rule. But actually, it goes to say that when you treat one country well, you have to treat other countries the same way also. So, example, we are trading with Singapore, right? And we are friends with Singapore, and whenever their products come into our country, we give them small or sometimes no taxes. We impose no taxes on their products. So it's very easy for their products to come into our country. So the most favored nation status says that if you treat Singapore that way, you should treat all other World Trade Organizations that way. So you treat the United States that way, Canada that way. You lower your tariffs also for them, in other words. Now, why is regional integration undermining this or seem to neglect this? Because in most cases, regional integration impose their own policies and lower tariffs or give favors only to member states. So if you are not a member of that regional integration, they will not give you tariffs or they will not give you benefits like lowering of tariffs. You understand? So halimbawa, yung Japan, hindi naman yan member ng ASEAN. So when their products come into our country, in ASEAN, in the ASEAN region, we impose higher taxes. Of course, there are others imposing uniform laws and regulations that at times do not take into account national, economic, cultural, and social differences. Di ba yung Brexit, ganyan ang nangyari. The exit of the United Kingdom from the EU because of cultural identity. Yung mga British, no, it seems strange, but they don't feel like they're the same as other European countries. They don't think they're Europeans. Well, they're part of Europe, no, geographically. They are quite different. They feel that they are different from the whole region. Okay, they do not hold any sentiments with with France, with Germany, not as much, no. So I guess they have this unique sense of identity, and that's the reason why they left. This is evidence with the fact that there are a few British citizens living all across Europe, but there are more citizens all across Europe. In fact, probably even in Asia, no, there are more citizens from all over the world living in the United Kingdom. Okay, so other people like to live in the United Kingdom, but citizens of the United Kingdom doesn't want to live in other places. That's that's rare for a country, no? So they have this sense of pride when it comes to their culture. So that's one reason, okay, why they exited. Eliminating jobs and increasing unemployment in protected industries. Of course, you know this already. No? So because of regional integration, no, some companies might transfer their factories to other member countries, member states. Losing sovereignty, national independence, and identity. This is because Like in the EU, there is this idea that you act like one nation. Okay, literally they actually did this because they even have only one monetary standard. We will go into this later on when I discuss part 2. No? So this next lesson is about some examples of regional integration that is well known all across the world. It reduces the powers of the national government. So the national government cannot just make some economic reforms or economic decisions that might affect other countries. Okay, so if you make an economic decision in your country, this might have an effect in other countries as well, in member states. So you have to be very careful. Sometimes you have to consult with other member states before you make any economic changes or economic policies in your country. Like if you are an EU member, okay, you are using only one money, no? And in your country, let's say you want to devaluate your money. When we say you want to devaluate your currency, your money, basically what are you going to do? You want to print more money, right? You want to print more money. That's what you do. But you cannot just do that because you're using the euro. Diba? For example, you're Spain, you want to devaluate your currency. You're using the euro. You cannot just do that. If you're using your own currency, you can. But you're using the currency of the whole region. So you can do that. If you print more money, edi kakalat din yun sa buong region. Diba? Madi-devaluate, parang madi-devaluate din yung pera ng buong EU. You think of it that way. See, so you just cannot do that. Increasing the problems of illegal drugs and terrorism due to the due to the ease of cross-border labor movements. Okay, since the barriers of entry of labor is lowered, some illegal entities can actually take advantage of this and enter your country. Okay, so these are the costs of regional integration. Are there any other that you can think of? Well, there is the fact, of course, that your local industry might suffer, okay, because of more competition from other countries. Okay, so if that's the case, then I will end my lesson today. That's it. No, you just take care and stay safe, everyone. You have a nice day. If you have any questions or concerns, do not hesitate to message me. Okay.